Our next speaker, Dr. Marcin Marszałek, University of Rzeszów. Blackout, the role of operators, joint responsibility system of system users, necessary changes to the law.
Okay, thank you very much. We have not enough time for that, so I try to be very quick, and the presentation is short as well. So the prevailing belief today is that electricity should be provided for everyone, and including citizen businesses, the other items and entities, and this is the task and the component of the modern state functions. Everyone is believed that it should be done. What does limit and exclude the specific right to energy? Situation that threaten the state security, national defense, and public internal security. Of course, it did not happen in Poland as yet, but if you read the law, it could be happen. And the second, the specific events that prevent the exercise of right, for example, breakdown. So I mean a technical failure that brings a temporary interruption in the power supply, and blackout. What is the definition of blackout? I think this is wide known, so I don't want to read this. But if we can turn back in the time on 28 April 2025 in Spain, when approximately nearly 60 million people lost power, by now, we know that several technical problems caused that situation, and there is no possibility to point the main of it. As we know now that too much power was put into the grid, and the power operator did not prevent the situation, and there was not enough frequency delivered by the operation classical power station. So, and during the procedure, they discovered that even the technical function of managing of the grid was put via internet and telecom, which lost power, and it didn't work. So they do not have special energy lines which are independent from the operator. If we can see another slide. By now, who is responsible for the security of electricity system, including managing electricity, transmission capacity, balancing demand with supply to the grid, controlling grid traffic, planning operations, running the balancing market, and the right to issue binding instruction to the system user in the legal sense, authoritative administrative order to a specific addressee, system user. Of course, the answer is quite simple, grid operators. But which one? The national, the highest voltage operator, or maybe in Poland, lower level grid distribution, 5 items, or maybe the lowest level, OSDN, next OSD, which have no possibility to manage it. So I try to find an answer for this question in another slides. So the task of the operator and manifestation of its work is maintaining a constant supply. But the operator not only provides the technical conditions for the transmission of active energy, but also system services, ensuring its proper quality and other technical parameters, and protect the network supply capacity and supply itself. Its area of activity is not competitive market, but the operational of the balancing technical market. And if we see the electricity market division into the 3 main parts. Of course, it's my conceptual base of my work. I work in 25 years for the electricity company, so please, It's only my conception. So because each year brings us a new institution that probably we can divide here the fourth part, but there is no place and no time to explain why. Okay, so competitive market segments. In this segment operated, we cannot see the operator there. Maybe and see the balancing market when the operator buy some energy on the market, but it happened very rarely, and I don't remember much transaction of that. So it's like unlikely that operator will acquire energy on the market. Balancing technical market, of course, this is the part of the obligation, statutory and mandatory obligation of the operator, especially giving orders for from the operator to the power power stations and end user, huge end users, and regulated market. This is the most interesting part of the electricity market. Why? Because on this market, operator acquire services which is needed to deliver electricity for the end users. Operational power reserve, maintenance of cold reserve, DSR, it means demand reduction services, and acquiring frequency. So the power station, especially in Poland, in each country is working all the time. Even they do not deliver the electricity, but they deliver a proper frequency, which cannot be delivered by the, for example, a power station base of the renewable. They try to produce frequency, but it's not enough. Only old power station, which working all the time, can deliver the frequency, and the frequency must be stable. If you lose frequency down or over frequencies the electricity, the system will collapse and break as blackout. This is the technical issue. There's nothing to do for the lawyers and economics. There's techniques. Okay. So, due to the blackout, the two issues need to be addressed. First, liability for or in connection with the blackout. And referring to this point, now we can face the transfer of dispersion of responsibility to a lower level operator. As we know, the OSD, so at the top of the grid operators is OSP, so the national highest level grid operator, which managing all the system in the whole country. At the lower level, we have 5 OSD, so lower level operator, that now building their facilities to managing, producing and demand response possibilities at the part of the country. Why? Based on the Spain report, we now know that many renewable resources are not managed properly. And this should be the task for the OSD, or even of the lowest level grid operator. The OSP, the highest level operator, there is nothing to do for them because they cannot manage many thousands of producers, especially prosumers. It's impossible technically. This should be the part of the obligation of the OSD or even the lowest level OSDN. And of course, the liability for preventing the blackout, it should be part of the active system users, especially that use much electricity. So only the business. And second, necessary change to the law to mitigate the risk of blackout. Well, in order to dispel this risk of blackouts, the market requires change, forcing better planning of demand and supply balancing by entrepreneurs. As we know, many countries of the European Union impose the tariffs in which the end users, which do not plan properly their demand will pay a special fee. Why? Because they are so big and they have enough money and enough spoilage of the electricity, they should plan it. So there is nothing explanation, and there is no possibility that ordinary people, especially individuals, should pay in the tariffs for the end users which produce, for example, cars on parts for cars. They have people and they could demand because they have enough infrastructure and they acquire electricity even from the other countries and at the stock exchange of electricity. And another part, competitive procedure for connection conditions. Now we have many renewable entities which have possibility to connect to the grid, and they do nothing. So they have only possibility and they block the system, preventing the others which have money to build renewable for building real renewable power stations. This is the general problem in many countries. Lowering the threshold for the obligation of generators to participate in the balancing market, matching generation to the demand curve, providing operation with monitoring and management of prosumer installation. This should be task for OSD and OSDN grid operators, because there are too much consumers, prosumers with power station, lower power station, and they produce. No one can control that. So, and the last issue. Following the system failure in Spain and Portugal, Poland is preparing its own anti-blackout package. The new regulations are intended to increase grid stability and protects consumers from prolonged power outages. Legal remedies are or would be, because we are still in the discussion, which should be for sure in this blackout packet. Some of the points are for sure, another, the discussion is ongoing. So the local content solution, increasing security through the supply of local manufactured goods, parts and equipments, and increasing economic benefits for the local market, but engaging local and national entrepreneurs. So, I mean, in my point of view, it's guarantee of energy security and sovereignty, which can be achieved by securing the participation of local companies, local content in public procurement through legislation. So if we produce equipment parts, of course, we have a strong impact of the local possibility to deliver the parts in case of war, in case of chains broken abroad, Poland. And the second, certification requirements for devices connected to or affecting to the national power grid. As regard telecommunications equipment and technology, this would help reduce the network's vulnerability to attacks. It could reduce the risk of cyber attacks on energy sector. And the third, which is still on the discussion, that system operators would be more responsible for ensuring the ability to handle hacking incidents on devices connected to the PAC, so the highest voltage grid, or OSD, so the lower level grid operators network. It could bring, in the legal terms and legal sense, the stronger transfer of public tasks for this operator, but this is normal. But in the case of the smaller entities, especially OSDN, the lowest grid operators, they probably will not have enough IT teams that could prevent such attacks. But we have to accept this risk. And by now, each of the operator has IT teams. They are working on it, maybe even now. And I think they should take the stronger responsibility for it. As we can see the presentation 2 slides before, as you remember, who will take the responsibility for blackout? So in the legal terms, it should be taken by the operators. Thank you.